Hello everyone. So as the real life version of Tom has just mentioned, this is just a quick video to give some good and poor examples of how to communicate with patients regarding their lifestyle choices. So we're just going to run through 3 different scenarios. So yeah, let's get cracking. Alright, so for the first scenario, we're going to be discussing how to interact with patients in a non-judgmental way. So basically, when you are interacting with patients regarding their lifestyle choices, you want to stay as positive as possible and try and reassure the patient without being too negative towards their choices that they've made in the past. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you some lifestyle questions. Is that alright?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me are you currently a smoker?
Yes.
I thought so. I could kind of smell it when you walked in. Can you tell me how long you've been smoking for?
2 years.
Gross. Can you tell me how much do you smoke every day?
About a pack a day.
Pack a day.
I'm gonna leave now. What a dick.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about your lifestyle now. Can you tell me, are you currently a smoker?
Yes.
And how long have you been smoking for?
Around 2 years.
Okay, and how much would you say is smoked every day?
Probably a pack a day.
Pack a day. Okay. Have you ever thought about quitting?
Not until now, but now you mention it, might be a good idea.
Boom, saved a life. Wow. Powerful stuff. Okay, now we're going to see some good and bad examples of working with the patient to set achievable goals. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so you've discussed your desire to quit smoking. Honestly, the best thing in terms of your health is to quit immediately, as every cigarette is doing you damage.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to stop that fast. Perhaps I can cut down to a pack a week.
Look, the science really says that every cigarette is doing you damage. I think it's best if you just quit immediately.
Okay, I can try, but I don't think it'll work.
Okay, so you've discussed your desire to quit smoking. Honestly, the best thing in terms of your health is to quit immediately, as every cigarette is doing you damage.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to quit that fast, but perhaps I can cut down to a pack a week.
Okay, great. If that makes it easy for you to quit, then I think cutting down first would be a better idea.
Great, I'll give it a shot.
Oh, so that's what that is. Should we get that checked? Oh, sorry. Okay, great. So now we're going to go through our third and final scenario, and that is looking at the good and bad examples of how to encourage the patient and show empathy towards the patient. Let's see how this plays out. Alright, it's been a month since I last saw you and we discussed your interest in quitting smoking. How's your progress been?
Yeah, the first few weeks were good, but last week was quite stressful and I ended up smoking a pack a day over the weekend.
Well, I think you really need to start trying harder. I've never smoked before and I don't ever feel like having a cigarette. Okay, so it's been a month since I last saw you and we discussed your interest in quitting smoking. Can you tell me how your progress has been?
Yeah, the first few weeks were good, but last week was quite stressful, so I ended up smoking a pack a day over the weekend.
That's okay. It normally takes a few times to quit. I think the fact that you're trying is great and you should be proud of your efforts. Okay, so that about wraps it up. We've seen some good and bad examples of how to interact with patients regarding their lifestyle choices. So now it's time to get back to the tutorial. Take it away, Tom.